may seem insignificant at the time, but of course everything we do affects the energy of the world. So you may never see the effect that what you do has on another person, but if you have that intent of healing and of helping, then whatever the outcome, you just have to know that it's good. The song says it better than I can explain. That's why I write songs. Up a pebble in the pond, the water clear and cold. The soft splash sends out ripples to a place we cannot know. Like a smile for a stranger, with the flutter of a wing. Events are set in motion, a spiral circling. Can you see a rain cloud in a piece of paper? The distant waterfalls from sky to sea. If the rain had never fallen and the tree had never grown, I wonder how much paper there would be. Drop a pebble in the pond, the water clear and cold. A soft splash sends out ripples to a place we cannot know. Like a smile for a stranger, with the flutter of a wing. Events are set in motion, a spiral circling. Can you see the ocean in the window pane? The boulders washed to sand beneath the sea. The red and raging fire that melts the sand to glass, all contained within its clarity. When we open wide a door, when we teach a child a song, what we do is passed along as we receive from those who've come before. Every pebble in the pond and every gracious deed sets the water level rising infinitesimally. Don't expect a transformation before boulders melt to sand. You don't need to move a mountain, there's a pebble in your hand.
Beautiful.
Good, actually that's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful song.
Gee, now I know how Dottie feels when she does a meditation and then Janet Childs figures out something that goes with it. That was absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm getting out from behind the box. So, today we're going to be talking about faith, prayer, and acceptance. Because for me, it's like a three-legged stool. If you can't have each one, then it's not going to sit quite right. And first off, Carolyn, I want to thank you for being able to, one, bring your wonderful friend, And to be able to, Carolyn's friend is hearing impaired. And so she reads lips, so Carolyn is explaining to her the things that that are being said so she can be able to participate. So thank you for that, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
And welcome. Thank you for coming. So this week has really been for a lot of us, and you know, the past few weeks. June, I'd say that's probably one of the more interesting Junes that many of us have had. There's been wonderful things, and there have been some hard things. And when we think about, you know, where we go within ourselves when those things happen, and when things are going really good and, you know, yay, you know, most of us usually will say, hey, thank you. Thank you, Creator. Thank you for that. You know, it's been a good week. I'm happy. And, you know, that's my mom always said, it's easy to have faith when everything's going great.
Yeah.
And then we have those times that are harder. Losses, near losses, anniversaries of losses, birthdays of someone who's no longer here. Or maybe it's just feeling alone and caught in a depression. Or maybe there's something physically going on that really is very scary and very hard. And it's in those times that we turn to the place that basically is the one place we can go where we're not going to be hurt. The one place we can go where we're going to be listened to. And that's to Spirit. And prayer is that way of saying, hello, hi, it's me again. My feeling is that first we have faith. And they kind of go in sequence and kind of go with me on this. When we have that first moment of, oh my God, that first moment of something's wrong, that first moment when somebody says on the phone, are you sitting down? And when whatever that follows that comes in, it's like a shock to the system. This isn't real. First stage of grief is denial. And I think that goes with just when anything happens, when any big change happens. You know, it could be something great. And, you know, it's like somebody tells you and you go, no way. Oh my God, no way. No. But when it's something hard, it's like, no, this isn't happening. I'm not getting this call. I haven't just gotten this news. That's our opportunity when we step into faith. When we go, I can't deal with this. My mind can't deal with this. My heart can't deal with this. And we reach out to that comfort. Because we know it's a comfort we can't get from really anybody else in this world. We can get hugs. We can have people say, hey, you know, I'm there for you. But there's that deep, dark place that is of fear inside of us where we go, I need something bigger than anything this world offers. And that's when we go to Spirit. We have a hard time setting a prayer into motion if there's no faith behind it. You know, it's like sending an email with no text. It's, you know, because it's that place of faith. And it doesn't matter what you believe. You could, I mean, from God, Goddess, Allah, Buddha, Bob the Cosmic Muffin, whatever it is that you go for. Yeah, somebody actually told me about Bob the Cosmic Muffin. It's like, you know what, hey, if that works for you. So, you know, that place where we need to go. You know, I always said that no matter how old I get, I always want a grown-up that I can go to. It feels nice, and you know, once you reach a certain age, and a lot of those older relatives are no longer there, and they were the people who, you know, you went to. who would say, you know what, sweetie, calm down, you're gonna be all right. And you believe them. You know, it's like, you're gonna be okay, it's gonna be all right. And we all just want somebody there who will tell us it's all right. And having that from spirit, being able to connect with that, even when we question it, even, you know, it's like, you know what, I'm not sure. Because if you were truly there, this wouldn't happen in the first place. And to know that Spirit's okay with that. Spirit is okay with going, you know what, I understand it's really hard right now. But that's okay. Because I'm here, and deep in your heart, you know I'm here. Because if you didn't believe I was here, and that I was here for you, you wouldn't even be mad at me because it wouldn't matter. You believe in me because you do, because it's our spiritual agreement. You know I'm here. You're just mad at me. I know that. And, you know, I've talked before about the ways that, you know, that my mother taught me that God answers prayers. You know, first, no. Because what you're asking for, even though you think it's what you want more than anything else, isn't what's right for you. And I have something so much better in mind. The second way is, you'll have it, but not yet. Because even though you may be scared or in pain, there's so much for you to learn from this. There's still a little bit more of a gift and a little bit more of a lesson. And you just hold on, because I'm here. I'm not going to leave you. We'll make it through this part, and then you'll get what you want. And the third way is, I thought you'd never ask. And I just picture this huge smile and twinkling eyes saying, all right, now that you've asked, we're going to have some fun. But it's faith, it's the belief in whatever it is that starts it off, that sets the prayer into motion. And then we say, okay, you know, let's get into this prayer. Now, what exactly are you asking for? The most sincerest form of prayer I know is crying. That I've always believed is the most sincere, and I mean not just like, you know, wiping a few tears. I mean that nose running, you know, just, you can't even catch your breath. Like, have you ever seen a little child cry? It's like, you know, that level, that, you know, my nose is running and I don't care kind of cry. And, you know, I've held people and they're like, you know, basically using my shirt as a handkerchief, and it's like, you know what? And they're apologizing. It's like, I can wash this. You don't worry about that, because I know I'm in the presence of a prayer. I'm in the presence of the most heartfelt prayer that somebody can make. And when you're in the presence of that kind of prayer, or if you're experiencing that kind of prayer, that's something sacred. That's something tremendously sacred. You don't, oh, don't cry. Let them. They're praying. Some people pray through a mantra. Some people pray, you know, my mother, who was the world's most adorable Catholic. My mother was the kind of Catholic all Catholics should have been. She took the absolute best of it. And one of her favorite ways of praying was the rosary. And that was a meditation. She actually made a rosary that, you know, for those of you who know, you know, we're recovering Catholics or anything like that, you know, you go around 3 times and there's like 5 what's called decades or sets of prayers. She made a 15-decade rosary. It went all the way around. So you say, well, this way I don't have to turn it around. So, you know, but that was her way of praying. And her way of passing on that prayer was she made rosaries for other people. And she counted each rosary she made as a prayer. And, you know, if she knew somebody was going through something in particular, she would pray on that while she made the rosary for them. And, you know, it's in the Buddhist tradition, there are prayer beads. And, you know, you would say, you know, mantras, and you do your prayers, and you focus on each one becoming that prayer. In the Native American tradition, they have what's called prayer ties. and you would take like a little pinch of tobacco, or if a woman was on her moon time, a little pinch of cornmeal, and you put it inside this little tiny, square of material, and you tie it, and it becomes a strand, and you have one, then another, then another, then another, then another, and they're all along a string. And they're usually brought out in ceremonies, and then they're burned, because then it's like offering the prayer up. And you could have a prayer tie with hundreds and hundreds. The largest prayer tie I ever did was 460 prayers. And I had a lot to pray about. And each one became an individual prayer that I knew was going to be a part of that strand. Because in my heart, in my faith, my aspect of faith, when I pray, it's heard. That I have never said a prayer. No one has ever said a prayer that was not heard. No one ever said a prayer that was ignored. It wasn't like, oh, I'll answer that email later. God doesn't do that. Every single prayer. There was a movie called, what was it? The one with Jim Carrey in it, where he was given God's ability.
Bruce Almighty.
Well, what was that one called? Bruce Almighty. And I remember in one part of the movie, he was getting like all of these emails, and it's like, well, what's all this? He goes, well, these are all the prayers that everybody's doing. So he decided he didn't want to deal with it, so he clicked answer all. And chaos ensued. It was like, everybody, there was this big lottery, so everybody who prayed to win the lottery won, which meant that, nobody could get all the money, and people were arguing and fighting, and Morgan Freeman, who is like one of my favorite people to play God, him and George Burns. Those of you who remember when George Burns was, John Denver. There was just something, and in fact, there was a academy. He was giving an award presentation to Charlton Heston, and he was saying, it's like, oh yeah, Charlton Heston, he's an awesome actor. He goes, but then again, he only played Moses. So the idea was that everybody can't get what they want when they want it. And the main character learned that, it's a lot trickier than most people think. It's sort of like if you have a bunch of kids. You give all those kids everything they want when they want it, chaos will ensue in the household. I just had two, and I wandered around talking to myself half the time. I don't know how my mother dealt with 4 of us. But the idea that sometimes we need to hear no or not yet. And it doesn't mean that we're not loved. It doesn't mean that there isn't someone out there who wants us to have absolutely everything we want and has the wisdom to know when not getting what we want is really what we need most. When we reach the place of acceptance, that's probably the hardest place, because acceptance is kind of twofold. There's acceptance of the fact that sometimes we've got to hear no. Sometimes the prayer does not come out exactly as we want it. And that can be really, really, really hard, because then the questions come in. Why not? Other people got this, why didn't I? And did I not pray enough? Did I do something wrong? Is this a punishment for a past life? All those questions come up because, in that moment, it's the most important thing to us. And I've seen God's job, and I wouldn't want it. Because to have to connect with so many spirits, knowing that you live within each and every one of them, means that you feel everything that each and every one of them feel. God exists in each and every one of us. And that's a two-way communication. That's how God knows what we need before we need it. And I know that God feels bad when we suffer, when we're hurting, because part of God lives within us. And being able to accept that piece of, you know what, not this time. But I promise there will be something better on the other side of it. You gotta trust me. And it's that you gotta trust me that, we hang on to. Because like, okay, I can trust. I can trust enough. The other part of acceptance is something that most people would think would be very easy. Accepting when the answer is yes. And you would think that this would be a given. That's a no-brainer. But it's amazing how many times the yes comes and people still can't quite accept it. When we receive a blessing and it's like there's got to be something wrong with it. It's got to be a mistake. It's like, well, obviously this was meant for somebody else. And, it's sometimes being loved is harder than being criticized. Because we have that place within us that we're not worthy. How could anybody love me unconditionally, beyond all else, beyond any idea to love me beyond my own ability to love myself? How could anybody love me that much? Because sometimes as we've walked through life, we've been taught lessons that love has strings. That love happens when somebody has an advantage in it. That love is something you're given and then is taken away from you, as if it's some sort of cosmic joke. When we are able to accept that we are loved beyond our capacity to understand love, that no matter what we do, no matter what we've done, we are loved, and that we can receive the blessings of that. And a part of that is that it's like there's a concept of survivor's guilt. When something happens and other people are damaged and you're not, it's sometimes hard to accept that blessing. Right now, my son, as his body is, working on healing, he's in a place of, I should have been dead. How did I survive? And he's really kind of stuck in that. When he was 16, he had his first job at Great America, and he was working as one of the lifeguards. And he said, it's like, Mom, my biggest fear is that somebody's going to drown and I'm not going to be able to help them. And so I told him that all he can do is train as hard as he can, practice what he needs to practice so he knows it as well as he could possibly know it, and leave the rest to God. Because if somebody has a contract that says, okay, this is going to be as it is, you can't stop that. All you can do is the best you can do. And during his first summer, a 4-year-old child drowned. It was the first drowning. And Jeremy was one of the lifeguards on duty. And he experienced devastating guilt for that. And he carried that. And somehow he said he almost thought that what was happening to him was payback for the fact that he couldn't save that child. He was somehow getting what he deserved. And as, he's processing this, and what people feel is what they feel. It's, you can tell them, no, it doesn't make sense. No, you had nothing to do with that. No, that has nothing to do with this. And you can tell people all of the wonderful encouragement that you can. Until they know it in their heart, it's not going to work. They have to reach that place between them and spirit when they can accept that, no, you did your best. There was nothing you could do. And when people experience things like near-death type of things, it can be very upsetting because suddenly, not only don't they feel as safe, but if other people are hurt, there's that, why wasn't I hurt and why were they? So when we look at that acceptance piece, it's accepting what it is that we receive without attachments. Whether it's something that is positive, that we're enjoying, that we're loving, or whether it's something that's really, really, really hard. God is going to be there for us. Spirit is going to be there for us. We are never alone. Spirit is inside each and every one of us, which means each and every one of us have that ability to help and to be there for someone. I've talked about the God jar where, you take and, you write down your troubles and you put it in a jar. And once you put it in that jar, that problem no longer belongs to you. It belongs to God. And you let it go. And I believe God has a jar for each and every one of us. And when something comes up, God writes that little thing down on there, and it's like, okay, I'm going to drop this in my cat jar. And then when it goes in the cat jar, God doesn't worry about it. Because he said, cat's got this. This person needs support. This person needs a hug. Maybe God writes down on that, it's like, okay, total stranger needs a smile. Bang. We're going to put it in the jar for our beloved singer here. Somebody needs a song, and they need to hear a song with these particular lyrics. And then she writes it. And suddenly she gets inspired and she steps up and she shares that with everyone. And we help. Each and every one of us help to make the world a kinder, more loving place. And the way we do it is by just being the best person that we know to be in that moment. Those are the moments we answer God's prayers. And we become a part of the prayer. And as we work to, we don't have to make sense of what happened. There's a part of us that wants to. There's that analytical aspect. It's like, okay, I need to know how this added up. I need to know what got me from point A to point B. And sometimes the answer is simply because. And if you can accept that sometimes the answer is just because, it can make things a lot easier. Why me? Why not? There's something for you to learn through this. There's something for you to gain from this. Because in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that we're ever given anything that we didn't have something we were going to gain from. Even if the gain was just that we realized how much our community loves us. That we have that companionship. We have that part of us that is connected to one another irrevocably. All of a sudden you wake up and you're thinking about, someone, it's like, wow, suddenly Jim's on my mind. I wonder how Jim's doing today. And you might call him up and say, Jim, how you doing today? And he might say, well, I'm doing great. Or he might say, well, I got something that's kind of weighing on me a little bit. When we suddenly think of someone, even if we don't call them, but you send out a prayer for them. Like, Creator, I don't know what they're going through, but, please just, put in their spirit that they're loved. Let them know. I'm sending my love to surround them. And sometimes that's enough. A lot of people want to know, I want to serve God, I want to serve God, I want to serve Spirit. And it's like, well, just be the best person you know to be. Play nice. That's enough. There's a song, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. I am grateful beyond words that God knows the difference between what I want and what I need. Because there were times when what I wanted, and I wanted it so badly, and You know, it's like, no, no, you really don't want that. You know, like, I love him. You know, as I'm drooling over Leif Garrett on the cover of Tiger Beat magazine. Oh yeah, like I'm the only one who looked at Tiger Beat magazine. You guys remember Tiger Beat magazine? The little prepubescent, you know, hearts on the top with Donny Osmond and, you know, Michael Jackson, Sean Cassidy. And in that moment, all I wanted, Leif Garrett was like, oh my gosh, I just was so in love with him, and I knew on a deep level he was in love with me too. And, you know, and it may seem silly, and it's silly to me back then, but it was like, you know, oh my gosh, if I could just meet him, if I could just do this, and oh, you know, those are the types of things that prepubescent girls dream of. That the love of their life will, you know, suddenly appear out of nowhere and meet them. And as you know, anyone who has ever been through puberty knows that you have fallen in love with somebody and it's like, no, this is not going anywhere. And it's like, why? It's like, because it's not right. It's not what serves you. We can accept that sometimes something doesn't serve us, even if we think it does. But that's okay, because every single time we're told no, there's something better planned for us. And we can hold on to that. Our faith lets us trust in that. It may be thin sometimes, but that's okay. You know, Spirit knows that. Spirit understands that. That when we pray, that it comes from our hearts. Whether it's a thank you, or whether it's, I'm in a bad way here. I'm here, I'm alone, and I am not in my happy place. I'm scared. And I need to know that you're here with me. Knowing that that prayer has never gone unheard and has never gone unresponded. And then to be able to accept whatever happens on the other side of that prayer, whatever happens, knowing that we're loved, knowing that we're important, knowing that our happiness matters. It's not just about us surviving, it's about us being happy. I believe Creator wants me to be as happy as I could possibly be, and is tremendously frustrated when I do things to create my own unhappiness. So, you know, it's like, okay, you really want to go down that road? You know, I kind of showed you the framework, but you're going to go wandering off into the woods. All right, go, you know, see you on the other side. I'll be there waiting. And Creator is willing to let me wander off into the woods, and suddenly, I'm lost. Oh my gosh, how did I get here? And, you know, Creator's like, really? You can't tell how you... That's okay, I'll lead you out. But try not to do that again. Really? I know you're going to, but, you know, just try. Accepting the love. Accepting that we are loved. Accepting that, I mean, I love my son's, what I call beyond good sense. I cannot imagine, I mean, you know, as soon as he said that, I was pulling up on my computer flights to Oklahoma City. I had no idea where in Oklahoma City he was, but I was going to leave a swath of destruction for anybody who was going to stop me from going. And then I stopped, and I thought, okay, first, Dr. Brain, I need to know what's going on, because I don't. The test results aren't in, so I need to wait for that. And it's like, okay, logical brain is saying, well, if you're going to go take this trip, there's certain things you need to put into place. You need to make sure you got your clothes packed. You got to take care of your dog. You got to do all these other things, which was a part of my gift because it gave me something to focus on. It's like, okay, who's going to watch the dog? You know, how am I going to, you know, who's going to take me to the airport? And then there was that place of faith that said, I have always been with him. When you pray every morning, I hear you, and you pray for him to be safe, and I hear you. Will you not trust me in just in this little gap of time? Trust that I got him. I'm not leaving him alone. And the fact that he heard me, Jeremy, it's time to wake up. I didn't do that alone. Even my love could not carry that alone. It wasn't meant for me to be there with him because God was with him. Spirit was with him. My love traveled through Spirit to him and gave him a voice that he would respond to. The one voice that always used to wake him up. Creator did that. And I am tremendously grateful for it. That as he was, heading in, and he's still kind of getting pieces of the accident back. And the other thing, the state trooper who had made the call came to the hospital, was not expecting to find him awake. And he said that he wanted Jeremy to know two things. One, he was a very lucky man. And two, all the witnesses said that even after half his cab had been sheared, Jeremy still managed to maneuver his truck off the side of the road and did not hit a single other car on the road. And he said, you threaded a needle, young man. And he said he could not figure out how he could have done that. Jeremy doesn't even remember doing it, not at this point. But when Jeremy did come out of it, his first question was anyone else hurt? I'm proud of my boy. And I have always prayed for him to be able to step up as a man into his own authority. And the first time I spoke to him, I noticed how deep his voice was and how calm he was. And I'm sure part of it was he was still under the concussion. I lose it, and he said, Mom, it's okay. I'm all right. He said, you were with me, I know that. And I know a lot of people were praying for me. And there was something so centered about him, and I thought, my prayer that he step up as a man came true. It couldn't have happened any other way because he had to face that in order for him to be able to step up into being a man. So in a way, I lost my baby, but I gained a son who had grown into being a man. Why did that happen? It happened because that was something that he needed to experience for him to be able to step over. That was his leap of faith, his test. Whether he could let go of the child and step up and be the man he was meant to be. Something has changed in him, and while he's integrating it, I know that he's going to be okay. I know that he and his wife are going to be, they're going to be okay. And I also know that while I'll always be his mother and his mom, I don't have to be his mommy anymore. That was my gift. That was the answer to my prayer. So it can be complicated. It can be convoluted. It can be tricky. But ultimately, with faith, prayer, and acceptance of whatever comes, we can make it. We can do this. Because the greatest gift that we were ever given is our ability to love one another and to be there for one another. And just to be the best we can be each day, one day at a time. So I encourage each and every one of us to just be the best we can be each day, because that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you.